Welcome to Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973, an inspirational podcast about the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Lakita.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Liquidshano, Coffee Talk, all the good stuff that we're talking about here. I just wanted to kick this whole episode off to let you know it's an interview episode. It's an interview that I did with a good friend of mine named Ben over from TikTok, and the different things that he's working on, the different things that he's been through, the overcoming adversity piece around running a business around time of COVID, understanding how social media has been helping that kind of stuff, and whatever it is that he was able to lend some insight towards being the best version of yourself and continuing to fight for the good fight and continuing to go down the road of just being a positive influence in general. So I wanted to share that with you because I think that I wanted to kick this off here today because I told you, I promised you once before that I'm going to try to continue to bring people in that inspire me in some form or fashion. And I'll be going on his podcast soon. I think it's probably going to be in about a week or so, I think, maybe around that time frame. I'm not really sure exactly what the date is, but I'll let you guys know all about the details around that too. So listen up, guys. Take your time. It's about an hour-long podcast, but it's a great way to be able to just learn some insight from somebody else that has done it out there, working hard and trying to be able to achieve the American dream and do everything he needs to do. He's a dad. He's or just a good dude, an entertainer, a social media influencer, but also a business owner and trying to be able to reinvent the way that the business is done in the field that he's in. So listen to the podcast. I hope you're inspired by it like I was. And let's go out and do some great things, guys. We'll talk soon. See ya. Okay, friends, listen, welcome back to another episode of Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973. As many of you know, I told you I'm going to be bringing some pretty stellar people on my podcast here to be able to do some interviews with. I've done everybody from, I know we've had Faith on here. We have Java Johns. We had on here. We had Madeline Janelle. We had Joe Tang, a lot of others. And the guy that I have here today is another great person to be able to tap the brain of, to get right into the way that he's wound and everything else. He's a really good guy. I met him on TikTok. We both have a really, really loyal following on TikTok, and we jump into each other's lives and we really supported each other. But I thought it'd be great to have him on the podcast today to be able to sit down and find out what his story's all about, what he stands for. Maybe you can meet somebody new here as we're going throughout this whole thing, and then just hear from people that have either been successful or are striving like hell to be successful as they move things forward. So I want to welcome Ben. Ben, welcome to the show, my friend. Welcome aboard, buddy. How you doing?
I'm freaking awesome, Shane. And I need you to know, I'm so excited to do this with you. Like that, and I think the setup was last night on your live. It was just a vibe. Like I was just, the funny thing was is I'm sitting there watching a rerun of the College World Series, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I don't need to listen to the sound because I'd already seen this, and I was like, and it's not one of my teams. So I was like, I'm just gonna listen to this music and have Shane, and then you're doing your requests, and it's just total vibe. I loved it.
Dude, I just started doing those request lives for music wise, because I used to just go live and just be jamming with people and talking to people and whatever. But I started doing the music requests, and I'll tell you, man, like so many people on a Tuesday night, right about midpoint of the week, just want to relax, and they come in there and they don't say anything. They chill out. We jam out to some music, and we just have some fun. And they're like, oh, I get to listen to some 80s or some 90s or 60s or whatever else, man. It's so much fun, man. It's a good vibe.
No, it's awesome. And I agree with the loyal followers. They're so cool.
I know, man.
The coolest.
So let's talk about that, right? So let's talk about everything in general. We're gonna go over from beginning to end, but let's talk about how you and I met. We met on an app called TikTok. If any of you don't know what TikTok is, it's an app that a lot of people say that the kids are on there dancing and they're doing all kinds of stuff too, and it's being taken over by a lot of Gen Xers and a lot of all of us millennial or late millennials and Gen Zs and whatever else you want to call it. But we're on there, man. So tell me what brought you and what you took you to TikTok in general, man. That's where I met you. But tell me a little bit of that story.
Well, and this is a neat one, I think, because it has some twists and turns with COVID in it. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
At the end, so for those of you who don't know, I am the owner of Box Painting LLC here in the state of Oregon. And at the end of each painting season, something that I do as the owner is I will go through for about a month or two, and I will take time to digest the business and understand what happened last year, last season, and then be prepared for the actionable items I want to do moving forward. And in 2019, we had our biggest year yet. We painted about 167 different projects, and it was awesome. It was a great year. The frustration I had with it was that my social media presence did not match what was going on out in the real world. And what I mean by that very specifically is I would post before and after pictures. It would get 4 likes on Facebook, right? One of them is my mom. Thank you, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom, supporting the son, right? But it was frustrating because for me as an entrepreneur, if I don't see success with something, then I'm not going to do that thing anymore.
Yep.
But the flip side of that, that can also be very detrimental, right? Because
it is.
You got to find a new way. And as part of my learning and my growth at the end of 2019, I started listening to Gary Vaynerchuk. And Gary Vaynerchuk has a book called Crushing It. And is part of his content at the end of 2019 that I was listening to was that Gary thought TikTok was going to be huge. Gary, he was convinced that TikTok was going to be big. And I'd never done social media before, never created content like that. But I thought to myself, well, here we go. If I'm going to do it, then I need to be the one to do it. I can't delegate this responsibility. I thought my content was going to be DIY tips and tricks. I thought it was going to be me, walking around the house, showing them what I'm looking for, whatever. Yep. And then COVID strikes, right? March. Oh, yeah. My TikTok anniversary, right? I don't know if you know yours, but mine's February 27th, right?
Oh, mine, I think was February 1st or February 2nd. So we've been almost the same amount of time. Yeah.
Right. So February 27th, boom, it hits. I didn't actually make content for a couple weeks. And the first bit of content I made was actually the Kevin Hart sound where he's and my daughter's in the background playing his daughter's part. And, I woke up that next morning. I think I had 1,000 followers, and I was like, "Well, that's crazy."
Yeah.
Okay. So I started making more content, just funny stuff, and a lot of it had to do with because now all of a sudden I'm because I can run my own business from home, and COVID has slowed things down. I was now the teacher at home, and so a lot of the content that I was creating was with my daughter and my son. And we're doing office clips back and forth. My daughter's playing Jim Halpert's part, right?
Nice.
And it's just it's a lot of side eye. It's a lot of looks. And bless my daughter's heart, she kills it. She absolutely kills it. And it just kind of took off from there. And the funny stuff stuck. And then I would start doing some of the DIY stuff and all those tips that I give out. But really, it came down to when COVID hit. One of the things that I made a very conscious effort at was I chose not to be negative about it. Listen, I'm a business owner. This hurt. Last year, 2020, it cut revenue in half.
Yeah.
In half. And there are 2 ways you can choose to go about that. 2 ways and only 2 ways. There's no middle. It's either positivity or negativity. You stay in the middle and it's ultimately negative.
Right.
So for me, the concept was let's move forward on a positive step, regardless of what's going to happen in the outside world, and see where this goes. By the time we get to, July, I'm sitting around 40,000 followers, and
that's great growth though. That's great growth.
Yeah. And it was weird because I also started having people ask me for merchandise. They're like, do you sell your merchandise? I'm like, no, this bomb pop look I got going right now. This was all me. This is just me. And all of a sudden I've got people in Finland buying merch. I got people in Australia. I'm like, this is nuts. And I was so humbled by it too, because this is my logo. This had nothing to do with anybody else. And to purchase somebody's merchandise that only for making them smile, it was humbling beyond belief. So that's kind of how it all started. And
let me ask you this though. Let me ask you this. So when I watch your content, I don't see a lot of the tips and the pointers. I don't see any of that stuff. I see a lot of the comedy. I see a lot of the humor. Although you're very smart, just like you'll see a lot in my videos where I incorporate the podcast or the microphone or some sort of, I bring it into a lot of my videos because I want people to know this is what I do. But you're very smart with it too, because you'll do a funny dance video or a funny whatever you're doing, and there's always painting going on. You're outside of a house, you're looking at colors of houses, you're doing whatever it is. So you're very smart and strategic. Did you go into it with that? Is that what you imagined, or did it change and morph as you went?
Totally changed and morphed. Yeah. So here's the deal, right? My now ex-wife, Hannah, she actually was asked by one of her coworkers, like, as I'm getting ready to do TikTok, she's like, she gets asked, so is he going to do the dances? Is he going to do the dances? And my ex-wife, Hannah, she says, no, he's not going to do the dances. He's here to do DIY stuff. It was me coming out of my shell. There's no doubt about it. It was me coming out of my shell, because you really don't see dances kick off until we get into the summertime.
Right.
Where all of a sudden I'm comfortable just standing outside of a house in a neighborhood with, and there's multiple cameras now. Everybody's got security cameras and they all the time. I love it. There's some TikToks on that too. And then, the other thing is I think for me, I was definitely nervous to start giving out advice on how to do things. I know how I like to do things, but anytime you give advice, now you've given opinion. Now you've opened yourself up to the idea that others are going to differ with that opinion. And in the world of the box dad, I don't get negative comments on there a lot. It's not a lot of negativity. And if it is, it gets deleted immediately. You don't even get a response. I'm not going to give you the light of day. So there was nervousness there, but as I came out of that shell, definitely started getting comfortable. And you
would have never done that before, right? Like seriously, dancing in public in front of me neither, dude. Listen, I'm not a dancing. I don't dance anything. I might do the old man shoulder twist like this kind of thing, like this, the overbite like this, right? I might do those kind of things. But one of the things that I always do is I tell my wife all the time, I said, babe, listen, I literally come out of my shell when I'm doing these lip syncing thing. When I first got on the app, I'm like, these people that lip sync they're super talented. There's no way I can do any of those. And then as you're practicing and you're having fun with it and you're getting a little bit of traction and people love what you're doing, it's almost like it's a growth. Like we're growing as we're going along this ride that's there. And I'm in the same boat as you, Ben. I don't get a lot of negativity. I don't, just because I don't promote that. I don't talk about it. I don't get involved with that stuff and they get deleted. The only thing that I can see sometimes, you have some trolls that might pop in every once in a while that say, oh, this video is really popular, so I'm going to make a comment, like a sarcastic, smart ass remark. And I go, okay, that's going to be deleted right now. But it's interesting because I love what you just said a second ago, is that you took it as an opportunity to grow within the confines of what you were at. Listen, I had no idea I'd be doing some lip syncs. I'd be doing anything like this. And now what I'm finding is that I've got a whole group of people now that are popping over to the podcast because they see that I do podcasts and I do post every once in a while to be able to bring that in. And they're like last night when you were in the live, there was a bunch of people that said, I listened to this week's. It was so good. Thank you so much I'm like, wow, man, I never would have thought that TikTok would be a realm for that for me, but it's another social media aspect that people don't give enough credit when they want to get involved,
Absolutely. I agree on the credit part too, wholeheartedly. Like it's this world that, for me, you get to create the world you want to see, like I enjoy that concept that it's positivity first. It's smiles first. We move forward with the smile. And don't get me wrong, I don't wake up every day with that smile on my face and ready to go, but I do make an active choice at that smile. You make the active choice. You understand.
How do you do that? How do you do that, Ben? Like, tell me your process in the morning, because I'll tell you mine in a minute. But how do you wake up every morning and make the conscious choice or make the effort? What do you use as like maybe a guideline to get there?
Mine is all about structure. Mine comes from structure. For those my followers are going to laugh about this. So I am a scheduler and a planner to a T. Meaning, when I look at my calendar, it is color coded. And the colors involve, there's meaning behind the colors and how it comes out. And when I look at my calendar, the first thing in the morning, I'm looking at that calendar. It says workout. I'm normally up 4:35 a.m. and we hit that workout first. It's just cleansing to enter that entire day. So, and I'm not going to sit, listen, I'm rocking the dad body here, below this screen. Don't think for a second that I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff out there. It's not like that, but it is activity. It is staying active. And it is that choice, I believe, in with my calendaring and with the workout that just gets me in the place I need to be before we step forward into the potential for negativity. Because when we're working out, that's the choice. You're choosing to work out. Make that choice. And then after that, whatever comes at you is going to come at you that day. The potential for negativity is out there. Whether you absorb it or not, that's going to be on you, And so by the time we get to, 7:30, 8 a.m., I'm a coffee cup deep. Breakfast is in me and I'm firing on all the cylinders. And I really, really enjoy that level of structure. And if I'm 100% on that, if I don't have the structure of it, it certainly causes me to get that anxiety up. Like I know when I'm getting anxiety because my schedule's out of whack or I haven't planned for what's coming next week or what I'm expecting next week. So
well, it's interesting because I have two camps of people that listen to the podcast or I talk to a lot of, and a lot of people ask me the question, I'm a schedule person, but the schedule ends up being a detriment for me because then I can't check off the boxes, or if I miss an appointment or something doesn't go through the way that it needs to go through, I then start to snowball into this negative landscape that I live in all the time. So I always try to tell them, I say, listen, scheduling is good. My calendar, just like you, Ben, I have color codes. I have family codes. My wife puts stuff in there to remind me you need to make this happen or that happen. I'm like, good to go, work related and everything. But one of the things that I try to do is I try to tell people, give yourself grace sometimes because you might not be able to make that appointment, but it's there for you to know it's there, right? So if the alarm goes off or the calendar appointment comes through, great, awesome. You know what? I'm on it. I can really work hard at it. I can stop what I'm doing to be able to try to do it. But if I can't, give yourself grace to maybe change the appointment or change the time or adjust and pivot to make it a little bit differently. And I try to share that with people because I get that question all the time of, I can't stick to schedules, man. Like it's impossible, It
is. And don't get me wrong. When we talk about sticking to schedules, right? It's tough for me too, no matter what. It's a hard thing. But what I will say is that within the calendaring aspect, right? And when you're putting schedules in and things like that, when you're going to be late or you're going to miss an appointment. It happens. It happens for me too. And as that's approaching, the very least you can do is let the other human being know that's going to be affected by your lateness.
Yeah.
Let that it's coming. Let them know. Most human beings, because we are imperfect as we are, they will give you the grace. But we build it up in our own mind that they are not going to give us the grace, that they're going to be disappointed, that they're going to be pissed off. They're not. They're not going to be that way. Right. And if they are, did you really want them in your life?
Yeah, no, I'm all set with that. I'm all set with that nonsense.
So you kind of start to figure out how to weed people out of your life too. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're terrible people. It means they're just not your vibe, and that's okay. So,
I love that, dude. Listen, I have this conversation all the time. I did a podcast about maybe 4 weeks ago. It was all about the circle. Remember Robert De Niro and Meet the Parents, and Ben Stiller was like, talking to me, he goes, the circle of trust. And I know it was meant in cheeky humor, but I believe it's true. Because if you look at who's in your circle, and this is what I did as the exercise for the podcast, I said, I want you to take a look at your phone and I want you to see what your last 5 or 6 messages was to that person that you think is in that circle, those people that you want in your tribe, you want in, rooting you on and lifting you up. And if they haven't reached out to you to check on you, or they haven't done anything like that, but it's all been you going out to them all the time, or every conversation you have has been negative, or it's been like, oh, the world's coming to an end and blah, 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 and all this stuff like that, you have to readjust and take a look and see who's in that circle of yours. So I love what you just said a second ago. Sometimes you got to make that tough decision and say, peace out, homie. You got to go. You know what I mean?
And here's the other thing on that too, just as a wrap that up. It doesn't mean it's final. Give people grace, right? Give people the grace. If they want to come back into your life, let them come back into your life. But it's going to be their effort first. It's going to be their effort first. And that's okay to set that boundary with them. You know, that's an okay thing as a human being to do. So, yeah, but for me, finding structure is where happiness begins for me. And, there's people out there that will be like, well, that takes away spontaneity. Now, I disagree with that entirely. Listen, I've operated a business. This is my 5th season. I have not worked a single weekend in 5 years. In 5 years, owning a business. And that comes down to the way I schedule things, the way that I prioritize things. I am dad first. On the weekends, I am dad first.
How many kids do you have, Ben?
I've got 2, a 10 and a 7. And coincidentally, this week, my ex-wife, she's out in Colorado for 8 days. And so I'm doing the single dad stuff, running them around, and they're coming to work with me too. I think it's important for your kids to see what you do during the day. It's not always making TikToks. It's how do you have those conversations with other human beings? How do you engage with human beings? You know,
what do your kids think of your TikTok fame? You know what I mean? I mean, how many followers do you have on TikTok, Ben?
We're at 187,000 now.
187,000. That's a lot. That's a lot of followers. What do the kids think about that? Do they go, are they jealous? Are they proud? Like, what are they? How they feel?
Honestly, they don't ask me how many followers I have. They might not even know the number of how many followers I have. Because for me personally, that's not something I go after. It's always been
a priority.
No, it's not number of followers. It's quality. It's quality over quantity for me. And what I'm finding is, like, early on, one of the reasons I didn't do social media was I was very afraid that by putting myself out there, I would turn people off from doing business with me, that it would be a detriment to my business. Gotcha. And what I have found is the exact opposite. There are people that will go look at they'll go see, Box Painting's website. They'll see the little tab that says the Box Dad. They'll click over there. They can see some of that content, my merchandise, and then they can get a little more curious if they want to dig deeper and hop on TikTok. What I find is that my main demographic of people are normally over the age of 55. Homeowners over the age of 55. That's a demographic I go through. And if they are turned off by what they see, whether they see Becky pop up and I'm doing makeup through the glasses or whatever.
Well, we'll talk about Becky, my friend. We'll talk about Becky.
But if they see that and they're turned off by that, they will not call. They will not call. And what has already happened in that engagement right there is they've weeded themselves out from calling me. And now we're not wasting each other's time for an estimate.
Right.
We're not moving down a road that we believe is going to be unhealthy long-term. So this year, what I'm noticing is my booking rate is up. The quality of clients are insanely better. They know what to expect. I had one, I did that fancy like dance in front of that blue door yesterday. Yep. Mm-hmm. I get to the door, I knock on the door, and she goes, "Are you going to do a TikTok in front of this door?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Okay, I took everything off my door, the ring and everything. I need to put it back up so that you can do this TikTok. I want my door to be pretty."
Oh my God.
All right. Then she puts the wreath up. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready. I have my stand, I'm getting ready to do this dance. And she walks past me out to her front lawn, and she's standing there with a cup of coffee. No joke. Arms crossed like this. And I was like, what's she doing? And she goes, "Oh, I was just going to watch you." And I'm like, I'm dead. I'm freaking dead. It was so good. And, she's watching. She watches me do the first couple takes. She goes back inside her house because her dogs are barking. She comes back out about 15 minutes later, and she goes, "I just got a call from my husband who is watching you on the ring right behind me." And he's like,
watching on the ring camera
over there. "What's going on?" And she goes, "Don't worry, everything's fine. The painters."
Oh my God. It's too much.
But that's the world I live in now. We're getting to a point where if they are on social media, if my clients are on social media, we're getting to that point where they almost expect it. Like it's an expectation that, oh, he's going to make a TikTok today.
Yeah.
He's going to make the TikTok today. And so we have a lot of fun though. And like I said, you think about that moth to the flame concept, right?
Yeah.
The goal is to be the flame. The goal is to be the flame, attract the people you want to attract.
Oh, I love that.
Because if you are doing that part of it, if you are attracting human beings to yourself that you find engaging, supportive, all those things, keep going with that. Don't stop. Don't ever stop. Don't let people bring you down. Just pedal down and see where it goes, because it's a lot more fun.
So I love that. I love everything about what you just said a minute ago. There's a lot of people that will ask me the same exact questions. They're always like, hey, how come you're so positive? I don't understand. Like, are you this way all the time? And I'm like, if you could see me when I first wake up, when I go from my bed to the coffee maker, if you could see me at that time, my wife doesn't even talk to me at that time. She doesn't even make eye contact with me at that time. As a matter of fact, more often than not, she'll have a cup of coffee when she hears me rumbling around, sitting next to the coffee maker already poured, because I'm a grumpy ass every time. I'm just like, but to your point, what you said a little bit ago, which meant a lot to me there, was when you said you intentionally get up and you make a conscious choice of what kind of day you're going to have or what kind of day you're going to start off with, right? So what I do is in the morning, a lot of my followers and a lot of my listeners here on the podcast know that when in my bathroom, I have on my mirror, I have listed on the left-hand side, basically how many people you're going to positively impact today, right? Like literally asking the question, what are your goals for setting that to there? And then on the right-hand side, it lists out all the things that I'm most grateful for, right? So the things that I fight for every day are listed on the right. So when I'm in there brushing my sweaters off my teeth, going, like this, and I look up and I go, oh man, you're absolutely right. It sets my mind on the right direction. I know that I'm going to be that flame you were talking about, where I know that if I spread positivity and I can stay consistent with what I truly believe we can do, I know you're one of those people that I want in my tribe, because I know I want people that are of the same cloth, you know what I mean, that want to be able to spread positivity, have fun, and just go out there and make a difference. And I love you for that. And I think that that's a really, really great way to be able to tie that back and to say that the flame attracts it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and I love the consistency part of what you said. Consistency doesn't mean you don't get to have bad days. Remember that, right? Consistency doesn't mean we don't get to have bad days. But consistency is still the effort at making it a choice. So
right.
I love
exactly.
that. I love it all.
Awesome, man. All right. So let's get into you a little bit. So here we are meeting each other on TikTok. I see that you're a guy that owns a painting company. You got all kinds of different stuff. I know you're talking about some future endeavors with like franchising and all kinds of great stuff that could be happening with the business. But let's turn back the clocks a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your story and tell me a little bit about where you're at, where you're from. Tell me a little bit about your history behind, before we know just the paint guy. There's got to be a whole story behind that aspect.
Story. First off, born and raised in Oregon. I only left when I joined the military.
What branch were you in?
I was in the Army. I was a 19 kilo, so I was a tanker on the M1A1 Abrams. Nice. By the time I left, I was Sergeant Aeby, and there was goals to being Sergeant Aeby. Definitely, I wanted to be called Sergeant Aeby, so that was a thing. I served for 5 years, 2 months, and 13 days. And, for me, the service was always a means to an end. It was a stepping stone. And really, it was giving me the structure I needed, because what had happened was from the age of 18 until 21, I went to college. And when I say I went to college, I was on campus. I was around.
Yeah. There he is. There's the guy laying over the couch. There he is.
This guy right here. So no, and finding that structure in the military, it was life altering, no doubt about it. It was necessary, had to do it. When I got done with that, real quick, just a quick back. At 16, I started painting houses. At 16 is when I started painting houses. I worked for my neighbor who owned his own painting company, and he lived right across the street from us. His name was Ken. He's an awesome human being, but he the way that I think people would describe me, he was that awesome 30-something-year-old in the neighborhood that I have kids now, but didn't have kids at the time. And he would be the one out throwing the football with us. He's the one having the snowball fights in the neighborhood with all the kids, him versus the world out there. But that was Ken. And I love that about Ken.
Yep.
And then I would have family and friends through college call me and say, hey, Ben, we know you know how to paint. If we buy the paint and rent you a sprayer, can you come make this happen? Yeah. Absolutely. I give them the friends and family discount. I do it on the weekends. And because I was also working a 9-to-5 job then also. And it was great. I loved it. And for myself, my father had told me that he always wanted me to have a skill, a trade skills that I'd always have to fall back on.
It's so important. It's so forgotten these days. No more trades. You know what I mean? Like, seriously.
Absolutely. And so I didn't, at that point in my life, didn't think it was going to be a business. No thoughts of business there. When I went into the military, I'm in the Army and I'm in Germany. In Germany, they figure out that I know how to do this stuff: painting, drywall repair.
While you were in the military, they found this?
Yeah, they figured it out. They figured this stuff out and they put me to work. And by that point, I become Sergeant Aeby. And when you're a sergeant, you can have soldiers, right? You're like, you have soldiers underneath you. Right. They gave me 10 soldiers and they said, we need you to train these 10 individuals on how to do what you know how to do. Go make it happen. And we went through and we redid all the barracks on this post. My official title was post coordinator. I had keys to every single building on that post. On my resume, right? I get to say that that I was in charge of over $1 billion of real Army property, U.S. government property that I had control of at any given time. It was an insane amount of responsibility for somebody like myself. But the cool part was I only answered to a general. I only answered to a 2-star, which is very weird when you're a sergeant. That's not a normal relationship.
It is, yeah.
And so it was just a very different Army experience for me. But it was there that I started figuring out that I think I could do this long term. Like that this was something I could develop into what I wanted to do. From there, after I got done with the Army, I would start with a company called College Works Painting. And
first of all, how long have you been out of the military?
Since November of 2008.
2008. So I mean, what, 12 years ago? 13 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been
go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to know how long you've been out. So
yeah, it's been a minute. That's for sure. And when I say 13 years, that's when you start really feeling old.
I know. I got out. I was in the military. I joined right out of high school. I was 91 and I was in for 11 years. So 2002 is when I got out because I wanted to raise a family and get out. And my wife was very honest with me to say the reason I got out was because she was like, listen, your next tour of duty is you're going to be gone again for like 10 months out of the year. I can't do it. And I was like, choices. Do I want to put her through that? Or do I want to raise a family? Or do I want to go in the military and retire? Now, don't get me wrong. The pension would be beautiful. It would be great, you know? Sure. But the quality of life that I have with my wife and my family and my wonderful son, listen, no better choice than that right there. So that's why I got out too.
Absolutely. And thanks for your service. I actually didn't know that you served. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
So from the Army, I would start with a company called College Works Painting. College Works, and what they do is they teach students how to run and operate a painting company during the summer while they're going to school. And I would shine in this environment. There was, I was a top performer across the board at every level, whether it was an intern, a district manager, a VP, all those things, I would shine. And it was there that I really started figuring out that one of my greater passions is the mentoring aspect of engaging with people. That I figured out that's where it happened. And it was so important for me because after College Works, what would ultimately come was I would go through and work for a couple of different general contracting outfits, build out my resume to understand carpentry a little bit more because I was still so focused solely on paint. Through the general contractors, I'd learn remodels, I'd learn general carpentry and how to bid that out. And from there, it was in 2017, in February 2017, the last company that I worked for that it was not my own, they bounced a couple of checks. They were struggling money-wise, couldn't figure out because we're bringing in money. And at the end of it, made the decision that I had an exit plan. And my exit plan was box painting. I had formulated the idea.
I was going to say, where's the name come from, box painting?
So it's kind of random, actually. I was I'm leaving a job site, and the last name of the job was Box. Last name of the job was Box, and it was this old home, 1905, I think. And they had they had done a remodel on it. Found some cool stuff in that home, like Depression era kind of stuff, where you find pistols behind the walls in the studs of the wall,
tucked away, and
your valuables, Depression era, right? That's how it went. And so as I'm leaving that job site, I was on the phone with my operations manager, and I was letting him know that, hey, we got to get ready to do the box painting job. And as soon as I said it, it clicked. Box painting. We all live in a box. That's what I'm going to call it. I immediately called my wife. Hannah. I said, I think I'm going to call it box painting. And I didn't have to say another word. She goes, that's freaking genius. She said, I'll start making up a logo. So my wife starts making up a logo. Hannah's going through making this logo. And the first logo was a 3-dimensional thing where it was really busy. It's a house that you're looking at, and it had the word box written in the side. It was just too busy for a logo for a shirt or anything like that.
Right.
And we sent the idea to a lady that had done family photos for us. And she said, no problem, I'll send you back 3 proofs. Here you go. And I chose the most simple one of them all. And it is box painting, right? So just super simple, and now with the Box Dad, this is the Box Dad logo. It's from Box Painting logo. And we've been operational since 2017. And I know for a fact, I will never work for another human being in my life. There's
it's so good working for yourself, isn't it?
It is. I'll never forget the first morning. I'll never forget the first morning you're working for yourself. You wake up, and I remember thinking to myself, so what am I going to do today? And it was on me. There was no schedule. I didn't have any appointments yet. I don't have going on. And it's okay. Let's go make this freaking thing happen. And from there it was go. So
did it start off with just you and only you?
It's still only me. Yeah.
You don't have anybody working with you?
So the way I run my company is I run subcontractors only. So I am my only employee. I do my own production. I do my own sales. I do it all. And that will lead to why I believe I can franchise the hell out of this company.
I know, man. I know. Well, let's get right into that. So here you are, being successful at where you're at right now, starting off on the groundwork, right? Even outside of COVID and outside of all this stuff, and using social media, making the decision, I've got to use social media to make it relevant and be able to bring it to the forefront of being a priority of promoting my business and doing those kind of things. And now, very recently, I was on a couple of your lives, and you were talking about some of those meetings that you were having about franchising and really trying to work with that. What's your reasoning of why you want to franchise that out? Of course, not just because it'd be money and monetary and have residual incomes and everything else, but what's your reasoning for doing that?
So first, know that 2019 was our best year. Year for box painting. I was very happy, proud of that year. 2020 comes, obviously it's COVID, yada, yada, yada. As we get into 2021, I knew it was going to be a big year. I could feel it coming. And part of it was that I know for myself right now, I don't have to grow anymore. I could elect to stay where things are at, do these numbers, this overall revenue that I'm doing about right now. And I could have the house I want, the toys I want, the time with the kids, the vacations. It would be a satisfactory life. Right. Satisfactory, where I don't work weekends. I don't sacrifice anything. You know what I mean? That it just functions. I could continue doing that. Then I get this bug. Then I get that entrepreneurship bug.
Right.
And there's 2 choices. It's your
drive, man. It's your drive. It's how you're wired, man.
It is. It is how I'm wired. And those 2 choices are this. I could do it a traditional way. Hire out project managers, find salespeople, go get actual crews that are underneath me and that I'm controlling, and go that route. My belief in doing it in what I would call a traditional model is that I would have to start giving up weekends, that I would have to make somebody else be as successful as a salesperson as I can be, that I would have to work with them on a week.
Right.
That I would have to start giving up that time. And I am unwilling to do that. It is uncompromising for me. So the next option is franchising. The neat thing about now I talked to some of my mentors and they told me, I don't know about franchising, Ben. I don't know. There's downsides.
I thought the same way. Same thing when I was on your live and you were talking about. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, wait, where are we going with this? I don't understand. What's this?
So, and for me, the idea is this: by somebody paying into the idea that they're going to pay a franchise fee for whatever geographic location they're going to have, that buy-in alone gives me the opportunity to get them bought in on the idea that they don't have to work weekends. Right there, that they're at the very least teachable, trainable, mentorable into an idea that I have, right? That they're buying into my idea. So moving forward with that idea, it was not monetary at all. It's just about wanting to impact others.
Oh, wow.
And for me, so there's going to be stages to this whole thing. There's lots of stages. The franchising part, we're actively doing that right now, getting ready to franchise. I hooked up with a company, and if anybody's a business owner out there, I strongly encourage it. I think they're fantastic. It's called Franchise Genesis. They're a consulting group, and for a fee, you get legal help, you get the disclosure help, the operations manual, all the things that you need to have in order to be a franchise in any given state. They do that for you. And then if you want to sell your franchise and be done with it at the end of your career, it's a Genesis company. They will help you exit that concept also. So with all of that, the franchising was about me maintaining the idea that I'm not going to give up weekends. That's really what it came down to, is I'm not going to give up weekends. I won't do it. It's not going to happen. And that's really the only way I could figure it was going to work for me, and still be able to grow. Right. I want to grow, have that bug, but there's no doubt that I'm going to do it a different way. And we go back to that idea that I feel like this year I've started to attract different clients, not different, but higher quality clients.
Sure.
I think that I can do the same thing with franchising. Most franchise models, you get put into a broker network of people that have money and they want to invest and then put their people in operation. That's great. Right. It can work. There's no doubt about it. I believe that through TikTok and other social media outlets that I can be the flame and attract the people that I want to attract and get them bought in on what it is that box painting will become. And the long-term 3 to 5 year plan right now is that box painting will be a massive service and charitable organization. So actually, I haven't spoken this out loud, but
I know. What's this all about? Well, we got the big reveal right now.
This epiphany actually only came a couple of weeks ago. We're going to call it Box Foundation. I'm working with my CPA on setting all that 55301C up, nonprofit stuff like that. And we're going to call it Box Foundation. And the idea is going to be that it's going to help community centers, any community center, whether it's women's shelters, any doesn't matter. Kids shelters, anything.
Yep.
That is a community center that needs rehab work done. Box painting will look to match any donations that come from followers, and we are going to be able to service those things in any state because I will be a franchise and be operational in any state. And then the long-term goal is to get Sherwin-Williams to provide all materials.
Right.
So that's what I want. I want.
So what I love to hear from this, okay, so everybody that's listening on the podcast right now or anybody that's watching right now, here's the thing. You have to think about and listen to what he's saying right here. What he's saying to you is that he has a vision. He knows exactly what direction he wants to move in with it. He's not going to take no for an answer, and he's going to continue to fight like hell to be able to get there because he believes wholeheartedly in it, and he knows this is what he wants to do. He also has that whole philanthropic side of it to make a foundation or some sort of, way to be able to give back to communities, to be the flame, to do the thing. Listen to all the things that you're hearing him say, and if you're not inspired and you don't want to jump out of your shoes right now to go open a business or do whatever the hell you want to do, let's make that happen right now. I love it because I think a lot of people are at the place, especially right now coming out of COVID, where a lot of people are, do I go back to work? Do I go back to my 9 to 5? Do I go back to business? What do I do? I have this entrepreneurial spirit that I kind of learned during COVID. I sold a little bit of this. I did a little bit of that. What can I do? I think a lot of people are at that decision-making place right now to decide what they want to do with themselves. And I think that Ben is a great example of continuing to push forward and continue to be able to do that. I appreciate all that insight, man. That's really great.
Yeah. And it's just, for me, the acts of kindness is my love language, right?
Yes.
Service, acts of kindness, it's a love language for me. And it always has been, whether that was through scouting and doing being an Eagle Scout, all those things, serving the country, all that important. This is the next step, because up until this point, my only service has been to people that are paying me, right? Like the homeowners that are paying me to do work. I provide a great service to them. I believe in that wholeheartedly, that the service I provide is greater than anything else that they're going to find out there. But beyond that, it needs to be what's next. How can we go more, make it big, better, impact more people down the road, and with the backing of almost 200,000 followers, we're gonna make some waves, and we're gonna get some larger vendors to start noticing.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot of fun when they start noticing. I want you to know that. Like,
oh yeah, man.
That's what you get some of these vendors like Sherwin-Williams to start noticing. And there's other people that don't like that. There's other contractors that they don't like people like me that are all the puns intended, out of the box, right? They're an out of the box thought process, and they attack it. That's uncomfortable for people.
You know why? Because you're against the norm. You're against what the status quo is. And I hate status quo. Absolutely. Let's get out of the space of status quo and be different and do something that you deserve. That's it.
Absolutely. And fight for it every freaking day. Wake up and just make that decision that it's worth it, that you're worth it, right? That it's valuable to others and yourself. So yeah, that's the vision, is Box Foundation will be a thing. And, it's funny because even, I went to Atlanta, to do this franchising expo in the lead up to going through this consulting company. And in the lead up to it, I actually did not disclose to followers what it was I was doing. And then I got to Atlanta and I said, okay, now I'm going to disclose what's going on.
I think I was there on that live when you said, this is why I'm here. And I'm like, oh.
And for me, that's the accountability part. That's I call it social accountability, right? Where you put something out in the world, right? I'm telling you right now that in 3 to 5 years, Box Foundation, like the goal by 2030 is that we're doing $250,000 in charitable foundation work. That's
amazing.
That's the number I'm after. 2030. Write it down. But that accountability for others to say and hold me to that and say, hey, Ben, it's 2029. Are you ready? And I want to be able to say, yeah, I'm ready. Here I go. And if I'm not ready, what was the failure in the lead up to it? It's okay to have failure. That's not don't beat yourself up. Give yourself grace. Things happen in life. But could you have made better decisions along the way? That's where I want to be.
Well, it's all learning. It's all learning. Everything that we're doing is listen, we're just trying to be the best version of ourselves. We're just trying to, every single one of us, no matter where you're at, no matter what your journey is, no matter what you're trying to be able to accomplish, we're all trying to be the best version of ourselves. The problem is that we set those standards really high for ourselves, or we're our own worst critic, right? Like you just said a second ago, we hit that first bump in the road and then we give up on ourselves because we're like, I'm a failure. I can't do this anymore. Well, let me just be honest with you. When you're trying to be able to do something like Ben's doing or anybody's doing, when they're trying to be able to set a 10-year goal of something that monumental, you got to look at it and say, you're going to hit bumps in the road, and you're going to skin your knee, you're going to scrape your elbows, you're going to get a black eye every once in a while. You can sit back and go, man, I got to keep on fighting. If it means that much to me, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm going to keep on fighting for the good cause,
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that's where it's going. That's what I see the long-term value of it being. And, people ask me often, well, what's the legacy effect for your children? I'm not going to burden them with that. That's not for me to burden my kids with. If they want to be a part of what box painting is or will become, that's for them. I will immerse them in what it is I do. But if they come to me later on in life and say, Dad, this isn't what I want to do, that's fine. Then we'll sell it and it's gone. I don't mind.
Right.
I can take it right back down. I don't have any problem with that, So this, no matter what, this was always being my own boss was my dream. That doesn't mean it's their dream. You know what I mean? So I think that
that's really important, though. We as parents try to push a lot of shit on them and try to be able to do some stuff to them that can be pretty, you know what I mean? That can be pretty tough. And when we try to push our values and not our values, but our ideas of what things are to be able to move things forward, you know?
Absolutely. And it can ultimately harm them, right?
Yes.
That all of a sudden they feel inferior because they weren't able to do what it is dad or mom were able to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case at all. You just had a different path. We all have a different path. They can do it too. And they're doing things that are awesome. So no, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I'm excited about the future for box painting. It's going to be a good time. By November, we expect to be operational on the franchise front, and that 2022, I would like to have 5 to 10 operational franchises. And, you know, people ask me, are you going to stay regional? Are you going to do X, Y, and Z? Where are you going? What are you going to do? If I find a candidate on the other side of the country, you know, in Baltimore,
it matches what you're looking at. Yep.
Let's do it. I will not be bound by the idea that we need to keep it regional, right? Mm-hmm. That's not where I'm at. This is about people, not about regions. So if I find the right people, then we're going to move forward with the right people. So, yeah.
It's going to be exciting to watch, man. I know you got a lot of other things with your fingers in a lot of different little pots right now. And I know that you just started a little bit ago a podcast too. And I know we're coming up towards the end of this one, but I wanted to have you give a shout out to your podcast. I'm going to put the right down at the bottom, guys. This is what the name of it is. It's How To with Luke and Ben. That you can find it on Apple and Odyssey. But tell us a little bit about that, Ben. I'm sure it has something to do a little bit with the DIY stuff and really kind of fixing stuff and moving things forward. Sure. But how's it going, and what are you working on with that?
So on the podcast, you know, that came to fruition because of a media company I use that does SEO and SEM for box painting. And Luke is actually an on-air talent here on a 1080 The Fan. And he just does sports talk radio. And I was letting him know that I thought podcasting was something I wanted to get into at the beginning of this year. And he came to me and said, well, guess what? I've got a studio and I've done some podcasts. Let's see what we can put together. And we called it How To with Luke and Ben. The first episode was How to TikTok. We talked about Becky. We talked about TikTok. Super fun.
All right, so let's cover that for a second, guys. We're gonna get back into the podcast. But Becky is Ben's like alter ego. Like literally is a character that he puts on a wig. He's got the glasses, and he goes out there, and I crack up every single
time. Becky. Okay, Becky is the sass to my kindness, right? He's the alter ego sass to what I bring kindness-wise. The kindness smile is me. Becky is all attitude. She's side-eye and attitude. That's what she needs to give. And, you know, Becky it's so funny how she came about because it's just so random, right? That so we're COVID cleaning, right? We're cleaning out closets. We're just going through stuff. My son comes down in this blonde wig. Blonde wig he's got on, 6-year-old son, right? He comes down and he goes, he's got this wig on. And the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, how can I use this for a TikTok? Big Lebowski, the dude, was the first thing.
The dude
had to do the dude, right? Threw the robe on, all of it. And then I did another bit where it was a Nick Swardson comedian bit, and he's talking about his mom is in the kitchen, and all of a sudden now the wig is a female wig, and I've got the glasses on and a pink robe, right? And I would do a couple other little bits, and I had a follower say, "Hey, you've been doing this blonde a little while now. I think it's time we give her a name." And me being me, I was like, you know what? And I made a TikTok. I said, "Listen, you all are the ones that watch her. So you get to name her. Top like comment is the name of the alter ego, and I'll send you a shirt and hat. Lady named Cynthia in North Carolina wins, and it's Becky with the good hair. Becky with the good hair wins.
I love it.
From there, that's even more shell, like coming out of your shell more. Because
I was gonna say that's like so not you. It like literally is your other side.
Yeah, it's my other side. And so then. Right, my followers, they start sending me makeup. They start sending me makeup. And they're like, you need to do these makeup tutorials. And what I would do is I would select, like I think one of the first ones I did was Christine Snaps. Christine puts on these magnetic eyelashes.
Yeah.
Well, followers just happened to get me magnetic eyelashes.
I couldn't believe it, dude. I was like, what is going on?
And that bit, and then I did More Than a Housewife. I've used official Stephanie Johnson.
She's great. She's fantastic.
Just Be Jules. I've used so many females like audio, and all it is just me butchering makeup, right? Just butchering it. At one point with More Than a Housewife, Anna's sound, I swear to you, I look like a raccoon. Like black eyeshadow all the way around. And then at the end of that audio, Anna does this thing where she's like, and just finish it off with the perfect set of fall earrings, right? And she brings these feathered earrings to her ears.
Yeah.
And I don't have earrings, nor do I have my ears pierced. I quite literally grabbed 2 pheasant tail feathers and I put them into the wig. And I came back and they're down to my freaking my belly button. And the goal with Becky is the reactions.
Yeah.
That's what I'm after with Becky. I want to see you rolling on the floor. I want to see tears falling from your eyes. That's what I'm after with Becky, because it's totally different. It will catch you off guard. And when you see makeup being done through the lens of an eyeglass, you're like, how the hell is he doing that? Because I've gotten to the point where I'm doing, and the lady followers are going to be like, how's he do it? I can do a bat wing eyeliner through the glasses. Like, it's impressive. is an impressive thing. So,
oh my God, that's so funny. I love it. All right, so we talked about Becky. And now I keep on cracking up, man, because I picture you in that outfit and I picture you in the whole thing. Man. It makes me laugh every time. But all right, so we get back to the podcast real quick. Yeah. So you wanted to start with an already on air radio personality out there in Oregon, and basically said, "Come on board and let's fire this thing up.
Let's see what this is." And really, it was me wanting to do something, just kind of that next new thing, And then so episode 2, we did how to hire a contractor. My tips and tricks on how you should, the red flags you should look for in hiring contractors.
It's important stuff, to be honest with you.
And, this happened yesterday, actually. It was
really so many people get taken advantage of a lot of times.
And the thing for me about it is, and this is going to be for, unless Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos is listening to this thing right now.
I don't think they're
this is for everybody listening. Your home, the home that you currently own or are paying a mortgage on after your children, is the largest investment that you will most likely make in your life. To have people working on the largest investment of your life, if you do not take the time to do the diligence that is necessary, right, for that investment, you are not doing yourself justice. You need to understand what you should be looking for, and the things that, if they come up, it's like you should question that, because so often as new homeowners enter a home and they don't know the jargon, they don't know the verbiage of what it is that they're looking at. It's just it all gets so convoluted for them that all of a sudden you can find yourself in a conversation where you are agreeing to things that you have no idea what that cost will be. But until you get to the end of that project and they're like, hey, I need $25,000. And you're like, whoa,
where'd that come from? Yeah.
Right? And those situations are the absolute worst gut punch ever for anyone. It is tragic, and it happens far too often. With fly-by-night operations and things like that. So how to hire a contractor was the second episode. And then third episode was how to DIY, how to do some DIY projects. There's a lot of neat little simple projects that we can do around our house in the summertime that just you don't need a contractor for. And if you just had a couple little tips and tricks, minor tools, you can get this done. So
yeah, I DIY because I'm subscribed to YouTube all the time. Like, to be honest with you, listen, it's one of the biggest resources that I've ever learned in my life. Is you could find anything on the web. It's having the savvy to find out the right ones or trust the people doing it and stuff like that. But that's really cool, man. I really think that if you really push forward with the podcast, are you doing video cast too, or are you doing just podcast audio?
Just audio right now. We're going to see what it for me, it's all just evolution of things, right? That
Right.
metamorphosis process of what comes next. So just doing the podcast alone was plenty for me to just say, okay, this is fun. I like
that's
this.
cool.
It's fun. So
Yeah.
we'll see what comes. But I'm not gonna lie, this whole StreamYard thing, I'm digging this. This is
man. I'll give you some tips and pointers on that.
Well, we'll talk about that in our episode 4 because we got Liquidshano coming on episode 4.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna be popping over to Luke and Ben's podcast over there, and we're gonna learn about some stuff. And we're gonna talk a little bit. Hopefully, we'll have a little conversation around composting. I know I told you that in the thing where I was like, I gotta know about some composting because my composting efforts are not really working all that well. It's just a bunch of stinky mess right now. Is what it is.
I dig it. Coincidentally, I have quite the green thumb, a gift from my mother and my grandfather, actually.
Well, then you're in the minority in the world because I don't think everybody has the green thumb.
last night on my live, I was killing a bowl full of blueberries, just from our garden, just a massive bowl of blueberries. Love it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So
there's a couple. There's only maybe one or two questions that I have for you here to end out the podcast, Ben. Is this, and I'd love to have you back on again because this has been great dialogue anyway. But here's the thing, right? So there's two things I wanted to ask you. So first of all, I know that you went through and you talked about your ex-wife and you talked about the different stuff that you were there. And while you were on TikTok, to be honest with you, literally through the lives and through your own personal, like with people that are on there, I'm one of them that go on there to visit and visit the lives. And we were on there when Hannah was on there before, and now she's not. And how did you, like, just to be honest with you, or to be honest with me anyway, because I know it's hard for me to unveil some of that personal stuff that we have that goes on in our lives. How did you handle that? How did it feel that you're sitting there having conversations and it's like, wow, man, this is really deeply personal about a lot of the stuff, and everybody asks you the questions and they're like, hey, what's going on? So tell me a little bit about that.
So for me, I do as much full disclosure stuff as I possibly can. I'm not going to get into the weeds of it, but what I will tell you is that Hannah and I had a breakup, a split 9 years ago. We married 16 years, 9 years ago. We had a split for about 4 months, and it was all me. It was all me, and that we always talked about that openly, and we would talk about it on our lives that we would do.
Right.
And what would happen on those lives is I would get affirmation of, oh, Ben, thank you for being so open and honest. Thank you for doing X, Y, and Z. I appreciated that. But the problem with it that was coming was that there were other things that I had not disclosed to Hannah from the time. And at some point, your conscience gets to you. At some point, conscience gets to you, and you got to come clean. Came clean on some things, and long story short, the divorce was amicable. I was going to
say, you guys seem to be in a good spot, like for the most part, and you got kids and everything else and stuff,
To give everybody an idea, Hannah and I split at the end of January, and by the time our divorce was final mid-April of this year. So we moved through the divorce within 2.5-3 months.
Right.
And it was done through mediation with one lawyer. It was extremely amicable. We were able to, and a lot of this, not everybody gets to have this opportunity. And I understand that.
No, right.
And I'm not saying that it always gets to be this way. I have a very forgiving ex-wife. Let me just put that on the air also, because she is extremely forgiving. But we were able to save the house, save the cars, save business. All of it is saved. And in fact, before June 30th next week, I will close on my house, and I'll live about a quarter of a mile away from the kids here at this house. So it is okay. Going back to that, happiness is a choice, right?
You're going right into what I was about to talk about. Go ahead. Go.
Deciding how you're going to handle every engagement in your life is a choice.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean it's going to be happy. Hannah and I, we went, those 2.5 months were hard. We had hard conversations, hard, difficult conversations. But at the end of each of those conversations, I know that each of us felt that we were getting closer to resolution on what we wanted to see for our kids.
Right.
Because at the end of it all, Your kids are the most important.
That's the important piece. Yep.
Kids are the most important thing. And it wasn't that we wanted to hide from them what was going on. That's not it. We told them what was going on, but we did not want them to feel any of that. Whether that was those heated conversations, right? Like Hannah and I, we didn't fight in the lead up to divorce. We didn't argue. We didn't have, those conversations. It wasn't like that.
Right.
And so but after separation, then we go into some heated conversations. And the idea is how do we make sure that the kids understand what it is, but not necessarily feel it. And a lot of that revolved around the idea that trying to keep things as normal as possible, structured as possible, holding on to the house was important. It's all, and fortunately, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm fortunate enough that I do own my own business. And I have the flexibility to be there at any given point. And an example is this week that I'm currently living in. Hannah said, I'm going to Colorado for 8 days. I was like, no problem. Have a good time.
Right.
I got the kids.
Here's the other thing I'm going to add on to it, though, Ben, is this. So first of all, if any of your followers listen to this, they're going to be able to see a little bit more of the behind the scenes stuff, which is anybody that follows you or that's part of your tribe or whatever, they always want to know just a little bit more about everything that's going on. But the second thing is that something that you said a little bit earlier in this podcast was you said, I'm the flame that attracts that positivity. I'm the flame. I'm the driver of that. And I may make mistakes and I may fall and I'm not perfect. And I continue to go down the road. I feel, and this is just me, and I'm bringing out my wife's hippie side that always talks about, the chakras and all this other stuff that she always talks about or whatever. She always talks about the fact that, that positive aspect, the positive feeling, the energy that you send out into the world comes back to you as well. And I think that if you did go through all of this in an amicable way and you had strategies and you were able to, not saying that it was easy, because like you said, it was a rough ride, but at the end of the day, I believe that positivity and what you bring to the world comes back to you tenfold. And you can literally say, maybe everything that I did go through and that as quickly as things have moved and we're in a pretty good spot now that she could do her thing. We got the kids, we got houses, we got whatever, is because of you, Ben, and the way that you handle things. And I think that your energy into the universe helps out with that. I believe that.
I appreciate that. And it's, there's a goal there, right? There's a goal that I want to be that over and over again. And I think everybody struggles with the authenticity of what that's going to be. You know what I mean? Because being authentic is being vulnerable.
Oh, yes. So true.
It's being vulnerable. And when you're doing it in a live situation or making a TikTok and going that route, suddenly and I think you might have seen it happen a couple times on some of my lives. We do story time, right? Where I just start telling stories. They will give me words that I can just generate a story from. I don't know where that story is always going to go to, but all of a sudden I can find myself crying, emotionally crying because I found a story that I was from my past and brings up that level of emotion. And suddenly I'm crying on a live and they're like, and then you get the people who are like, is he okay? I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm great. Like these are healthy tears. We're loving
Look what you did to me. Look what you did to me with your words.
But it's important to show that level of vulnerability also, because it helps the person that's trying to be that flame grow.
I agree.
Get that flame a little bit brighter every time. And I was actually having a conversation with official Stephanie Johnson not too long ago, and she was talking about how she was happy for me, yada yada yada. And I was telling her, just so you know, it's about to get a whole hell of a lot brighter. Like this, we're not even. I love it yet. This is. We're just stretching right now. We're in the warm-up. The things that are coming, I fully believe, are going to truly impact the world, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm excited about that journey. So
I love it, man. And I'm going to be excited to watch it. I'm going to be excited to be riding right alongside of you, man, to be able to watch how this whole thing goes, man. I think we've become fast friends, and I think that it's Like literally, I was telling people the other day, I said, if one thing you can get as a takeaway from TikTok and the social media, apps that we're playing around on and messing around on, here's the thing. I have friends that I've never met in person that are from the other side of the country that I consider to be part of my tribe. These people that are in my corner that send me messages that go, hey, how you doing? Is everything all right? How, whatever else. And I think it's incredible. And if I know a lot of people shy away from social media, but this could be a great example of Ben and I on how we've become friends. Guys, give it a chance. I'm telling you right now, you never know who you're going to meet. And
the other thing on that too is remember that positivity is a choice. Positivity is a choice. And man, it's so easy. It's easy to be negative. It's easy to be negative.
I say that all the time. People are always like, no, it isn't. It's easy. I said, no, it isn't. It takes work to be positive in a negative world. It takes so much work.
So much work. And that's because of the human condition. Right. We have self-doubt, right? We have anxiety. We question ourselves. We double guess things all the time. We don't want to. We procrastinate. That's what we do. Yes. So as procrastinating humans, we got to figure out a way around that. And if it's a smile that does it for you, then let's start there. That's fine by me. I'm good with it. I love it.
Let's start with a smile. All right, listen, man, we're coming up on the time. I'm definitely going to have Ben back, guys. I think you guys probably see the connection here, but you also see right down below, I've got his link to his merchandise at boxpainting.com. I also put up the link for his Instagram. You can find him at The Box Dad there and on TikTok, The Box Dad there. And then again, like we talked about earlier, his podcast of How To with Luke and Ben on Apple and Odyssey, which I'll be on. I'll let you guys know. I'll kind of keep you in the loop of when I'm going to be on that show. But Ben, man, it was a pleasure having you here. I love hearing your story. I love hearing people that have a dream and an idea and they actually do it. It's not just a thought and an idea that they kind of put in their head. You're actually putting the work to get it done. And I appreciate that about you. Thanks for being on my show, man. I appreciate it.
Shane, it's, yeah, we're good here. We're good here. Okay. I dig it, man. I dig it. Such a vibe. I love it, man. I appreciate it.
All right, my man. All right, guys. So thanks so much for listening to the podcast here, guys. Like I said, this was Ben and Liquidshano here today, and we'll put this out on the audio probably later this week. And then you guys can find it on YouTube and on Facebook, and we'll be talking soon, guys. Have a great day. See ya.
Ben.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Please do us a favor and leave feedback and a 5-star rating on whatever platform that you use.